Well, good morning, Lucy, from Capitol Hill, where everybody is eagerly awaiting the highly anticipated speech by the Israeli leader, a very controversial speech because, as you mentioned, he was invited by Congress. The White House complained that they had not been consulted about this, and we heard from President Obama yesterday that he said that it was not quite the right way to go about this speech because a few weeks ahead of an Israeli election, it makes it look like the U.S. is taking sides in Israeli politics. But, of course, as you mentioned, what Mr. Netanyahu is really here to do is outline his case against the nuclear deal that the U.S. is trying to reach. While Mr. Netanyahu is here trying to counter that deal, the American Secretary of State John Kerry is in Switzerland speaking to his Iranian counterparts, trying to push forward with that deal. Now, as we've been saying, Mr. Netanyahu's speech has caused quite a bit of controversy. There are dozens of Democrats who are boycotting, but of course there are a lot of people who will be attending. And to get a little bit more about what we expect from the speech and the politicization of the event, I'm joined here on Capitol Hill by Republican Congressman Tom Cole. Good morning to you. Thank you very much for joining us. I've read one of your pieces. You said that President Obama's reaction to the speech of Mr. Netanyahu on Congress was petulant. Mr. Obama's not very happy. But is he right to be unhappy about what's going on here and how you extended an invitation to Mr. Netanyahu?
No, I don't think so. We're an independent, co-equal branch of government. We have a right to invite anybody to come and speak to us. And frankly, inviting one of America's closest friends and allies at a critical point, there's nothing inappropriate at that at all.
But is it the right format? Mr. Netanyahu could be making his case against a nuclear deal anywhere he wants, in private meetings, in interviews with all the big American networks, at a speech at the AIPAC conference. Why a joint session in Congress?
Well, frankly, we think the issue is that serious. But to your point, I think it's the president that's trying to make this about the message or in the venue rather than the message. So we think it's a serious issue. Again, we want the prime minister's views. We welcome other views. But it's the president, frankly, who's politicized it. He simply said, gosh, isn't this wonderful that Congress is going to take time to listen to a trusted friend and ally, and then we wouldn't be having this spat right now.
Are we going to learn anything new? Because opposition to the negotiations with Iran, opposition to a potential deal with Iran, those views get aired all the time in Washington at think tank events and testimonies here on Capitol Hill. What do you expect to hear from Mr. Netanyahu
well, frankly,
today?
It's hard to anticipate ahead of time exactly what we will hear, but on the occasions I've had opportunities to interact with the Prime Minister, both in Israel or when he's come and spoken to us before, I've always learned something new. I think he's an insightful, brilliant person. I don't always agree with him, but I always find him able to make his case very eloquently and very persuasively.
Do you think he's coming with any new intelligence?
I don't know, and I would not expect him to in any way violate any of the intelligence information that he has that frankly wouldn't be appropriate to share in a public forum. So I'm not too worried about that. He's pretty skillful.
Well, how do you think the Iranians will react to this? Do you think this hinders the potential of a deal, or does it
I think it
advance
actually helps. The Iranians need to know how skeptical this Congress is of them. And frankly, the president, I think, would be well served to listen to that skepticism and reflect it in the negotiations. I actually think it empowers the Secretary of State to sit down with the Iranians and say, look at the problems we have at home. This better be believable if you expect us to sell it back in the United States domestically.
Right. Thank you very much, Republican Congressman Tom Cole. Thank you for joining us. This is the mood here on Capitol Hill. We'll be speaking to other members of Congress during the day as we await the highly anticipated speech of Mr. Netanyahu, the Israeli leader, here in Washington today.
Kim, thanks so much for joining us.
Handing back to you in London. Thank you.